I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Jeff Charles, James Spite, Andrew Moran, and Sarah Cowgill. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. The disappearance of a captivating young social media influencer energized a nation to ask, where is Gabby? Gabby Petito, age 22, unfortunately was found dead. The FBI says she was killed, and a nationwide manhunt for her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, is underway. Gabby's disappearance and death was, of course, a tragic situation, but it's compounded by so many other issues, it's hard to know where to start. Why didn't the obvious domestic abuse situation set off bells and whistles before the murder? Why didn't the cops keep their eye on Laundrie? And now some of the leftist media are saying America's only interested in this case because Petito is white. You can't make this stuff up, folks. All of these stories warrant attention. Sarah, you spent a great deal of time in New Mexico and Arizona for the most part. I know you have thoughts about the inequality of attention missing girls and women get. Does everything have to come down to racism in the country these days?
It's not racism at all, as far as I can see. There is an inequality. It's not racism driven. Otherwise, we wouldn't have spent the last year and a half with George Floyd honored and immortalized in our face, for every single moment of that tape. That shows you the power of social media. And it also shows you the power of unequal reporting. The whole world was behind George Floyd. The whole world's behind Gabby Petito. It has nothing to do with race. I think what it has to do in certain circumstances is, for instance, in Wyoming, just alone in Wyoming, over 700 women and children, young girls, have gone missing in that state in the last decade.
Wow. What about New Mexico and Arizona? You're talking about the inequality of attention to missing girls and women. Are there a lot down there?
That has been going on for decades. There are thousands of Native Americans that have gone missing. Nobody follows it, but it's not racism.
Oh, no, wait, you're buying into it. Go ahead, Andrew.
I've seen that data too. But the thing is that when those numbers are shown, they never look at the conclusion of those cases. So yes, so there were 700 missing people, but if you look at the numbers, 60% of them were resolved because why? A lot of them were young people who just left. Their parents couldn't find them, and then they were found. Other people they left because they had substance abuse issues. So this whole idea that when missing girls are when there's a huge number of them and nobody's paying attention, it's just because nobody ever focuses on that final result, which is they are found. Most of them are found. So I don't like Sarah's use of those numbers, but I apologize in advance. Don't hit me.
Okay. So let me
punch you.
Regroup and educate a little bit on the Native American missing. First of all, I-40 is a corridor for trafficking, and that's where people take everyone to go across the country. So that's a part of New Mexico and Arizona. The Petito thing is just a random screwed up relationship thing that caught the attention. The missing Native Americans, thousands, it's not because, they were found or, they did this or that. It's because there's no government cooperation. You have tribal governments that do not like the federal government on their land. The federal government, the local governments, the state governments, they have to ask permission to help out. They have to ask permission to go on the land pursuing any kind of suspect or any kind of missing person. So if the governments are what is keeping these girls, these women, these Native Americans missing. They don't work together. They won't work together. And it's a very slow and special process if they decide to. So you're never going to see, the numbers huge because nobody cooperates.
It also goes to the incompetence of these tribal leaders, because a lot of these tribal leaders are just as corrupt as a lot of politicians you see in Washington.
Our leaders aren't competent either. So, put those two together and you got missing people that never get found.
Jeff, you better sneak in here.
Well, I don't think you guys are going to like my take on this, but I do think that especially the left-wing media is very racist. And George Floyd does not disprove that. They exploited George Floyd to push an agenda that is going to harm Black people. They use George Floyd to push defunding the police, which has been harming Black people. So yes, not everybody in the media is racist, but whether they mean to be or not, the way they cover these things, it shows a bias. I mean, look, this is something that I've noticed actually since I was a kid, and this is something that the Black community does talk about. I mean, over the years, we've had, Lacey Peterson, John Benet Ramsey, Chandra Levy, Amber Hagerman. And what do they all have in common? Right. So, but here's my thing with this. We have the media complaining that the media doesn't focus on women of color who go missing or get kidnapped or murdered. So it doesn't make any sense because this is pageantry. They don't actually care that they're biased. They're virtue signaling. If they cared, then they would just change the way they cover it. Gabby Petito deserves to have her story told, which is actually one of the reasons why I haven't been talking about this issue as much. I don't want to distract from it, but I mean, they can't focus on every single story of a woman getting kidnapped or murdered. I get that. But I mean, you've got Chicago mothers who have put together an organization to draw attention to the fact that Black women and Black girls are more likely to be sexually trafficked or be victims of human trafficking. It happens all over the place, and the media will not give it the wall-to-wall coverage that they will give something else. So the idea is, it's not that they shouldn't be covering these cases, but I think people would like to see them cover a wider variety to make people more aware. But the thing is, the bottom line is the media doesn't care. It's like me complaining, oh, I hate that I procrastinate so much, and complaining about myself. But then other people are going to look at me and saying, okay, then why don't you do something different then? The media is not going to do anything different. Joy Reid is a hack. She doesn't care about missing Black girls. She doesn't care about missing white women syndrome. She cares more about tap dancing for her white progressives. So no, she's not going to, going forward, we're not going to see any of this change because the bottom line is they're not really serious about this. They just want to push a racial narrative. They don't want to help Black girls or Latino girls or Native American girls. They don't matter.
Jim, we're going to get to the legality of some of this in a minute, but I just want to counter that with one thought. I don't know, maybe I had my head in the sand, but I got the sense that the media was taken with Gabby Petito because there were miles and miles of her on YouTube. I think if she was a Black woman who was a video YouTube influencer and, she just had an engaging personality, I think that would have caught fire just the same because there was so much material they had to work with. She was engaging. I don't really think, maybe I have my head in the sand, but I didn't really think that people caught on to her because she was white. I think they caught on to her because of her personality. She was charming. She was engaging.
It's all about ratings. And so, if Gabby's got, a bunch of followers, heck yeah, let's pick this one up. This will go far. Yeah. Look at all the social media attention this girl is getting. Exactly.
She had miles and miles of social media. I mean, Jeff, maybe you're right. And maybe I've got my head in the sand, but I just thought it was because she had miles of YouTube stuff. Now,
I would say in terms of Petito, you are right. I think you are right with Petito in particular. But then with the other names I mentioned, that wasn't necessarily the case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess I was just talking about Petito. But
right.
Jim, I want to go with you and talk a little bit about, they were stopped by the cops. She was sobbing. All kinds of stuff was going on. Somebody called a 911. Then they get down to Florida and they don't even bother talking to Mr. Laundrie. I don't want to say it's the cops' fault because the cops are kind of doing the best they can, but wow, we got a lot of legal issues here. How do you see this?
Well, I think you're right to take that stance. And there's, who knows what little bits of information we don't have. At any given point, when an officer has to respond to any situation, all he or she can do is deal with what he or she had, the information they have on hand. So to some degree, it's kind of up to the individual officer's discretion whether or not you're going to pursue something most of the time. And so, hey, look, if the cops talked to him and everything seemed like it was okay, or if this guy didn't appear to be an immediate threat to her, there's not really a whole lot the officer can do.
I'm starting to see people starting to blame the cops. And, I watched the footage. I watched most of it. And I also read the entire police report a few times. I can kind of understand why they handled it the way that they did based on what they knew. So I really hope that these officers don't get railroaded. I saw headlines talking about how the Moab Police Department is going to be doing an investigation on their investigation. I don't think that they should be punished because I can understand why they did what they did.
Well, and to take this back kind of to the last topic, a lot of this, I think, I mean, Jeff, I agree with what you said on, in general speaking, the racially charged narrative. But in this particular case, I think it's the far more relevant point is that she was a, so-called social media influencer. Because look, even just half decent people care about other people, right? Regardless of race. Like if Jeff right now, Lord willing, it's nothing happens, but if Jeff right now, it may shock some to hear this, but Jeff happens to be black. If I know a black conservative, but if I didn't
know for Biden, so I don't know about that.
Jeff, don't duck out of the camera view.
Thank you for pointing that out, Jim. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Jim.
Just in case no one noticed.
And we'll also point out that you're white.
Yeah, that's it. Well, because that's what's really important here, Lisa. I'm joking, of course, for those who can't hear sarcasm, but but anyways, if Jeff said, "Oh, hey, some family member, I haven't heard from him or her in however long," I'm going to care. You're going to care. Any half decent person that hears about it is going to care. But that's the kicker. Who hears about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it's somebody with hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers on and followers on social media, everyone's going to hear about it. Of course, it's big news. I don't think it has anything to do with her being white.
All right, Jeff, then Andrew.
Yeah. If I could comment on two parts, because I've been ignored this entire panel. I'm going to grieve. I'm going to send my complaint to the human resources. But so I make 2 points here. When it comes to the domestic abuse issue, if you watch the clip, the camera footage, which is an hour long, you see a lot of the signs of domestic violence. She was hyperventilating. One moment she was upset, the next moment she was crying. Then she had a nervous laughter. If you look at Laundry, he's trying to run away, and then he's having a conversation with the police officer. So domestic violence is a very important issue in the U.S. I think the number is half of women who are victims of murder of homicide. 4 to 6% of them were done by previous lovers, previous boyfriends. And also, if I may comment on the media story, the media right now, they weigh a crime story based on one thing: the identity of the victim and the identity of the alleged criminal.
Very good points.
Well, and the cop.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was going to say also, according to the police report, though, which was interesting, she was actually the aggressor in this situation, and she admitted to being the aggressor. So did he, and so did the witness that called the police in the first place. But
no, that's not true. The witness that called said that he saw him hitting her.
Right,
she just took credit for the situation.
She said that she was upset because he went into the van wearing dirty shoes, and then the police officer asked Laundry if he wanted to file a complaint, and then he said no, it's a lover's squabble. I love her, and I'm not going to press charges. So that's also not a part of the
and it also doesn't mean, because even when the officers talk to them later, I mean, it doesn't mean that there wasn't stuff that has happened in the past. It sounds like they had a toxic relationship, and I don't know if that was more on Laundry or more on her or both or what have you. And to be fair, we still don't even know what actually went down yet, but it is clear that there were issues in the relationship.
Yeah, there was a recent report that said that Petito and Laundry were kicked out of a restaurant in a, quote, full-blown incident just hours before she vanished. So yeah, they had a lot of problems apparently. Right,
in a restaurant in Jackson Hole, I believe. Anyway, I think we're all taking a look from different angles here, and I appreciate that. Great points have been made. And here's to Gabby's killer being brought to justice, whoever that might be. Thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, surf on over to libertynation.com. Sign up for our new member zone, just $29.99 for the year, folks. Special thanks to our fantastic editor and post coordinator, Frank Diorio, and our executive producer, Sarah Cowgill. I'm Lisa K. Donner, editor-in-chief. Thanks for joining us today. This has been a production of libertynation.com. conservative news, where truth matters.